Wanze wadau, I know by now we have already established that this is one platform you can trust with pure good vibes. Wangu WA Makeri had a husband and a boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, the whole concept was this. You, if you had a wife, your friend who you are of the same age, angekuja, umpatie bibi yako, alale na yeye. Now, this is what happened. This is the origin of that whole thing.
Our guest for this episode, Wairimu Mukuru, has to be one of the most interesting people I've ever had a conversation with.
Ukicrash mbegu ya castor seed, uikule, you don't get pregnant for 10 months.
No matter what.
Yeah.
10 months?
Yes.
Ukikula mara moja?
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say this, but our conversation with Wairimu Mukuru is worth every second of your time, and you're about to find out why.
Na ujue wealth by capitalism standards, ujue you can't be ethical.
Hakuna outliers, lazima ucheze chafu. Leo tunaingia kwa African spiritualism.
There were two different types of witchcraft. There was the witchcraft to cause death. And then that
Straight,
was...
yeah,
yes.
and a specialized.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was the witchcraft that was for punishment.
Tunatoka tunaingia kwa money matters.
Is there actually, you asked a very important question. Is there anybody who's ever made money bila, like pesa mingi, you know, like kufika pale juu, bila kuhahama watu?
Alafu, we also get personal. Your dad gets shot and there is CCTVs everywhere. In a hypothetical situation, if you met the person who did the contract, and I believe this as a family is very difficult because sasa watu wakianalyze your situation because Wakenya na analysis pia ni one person alikuja bodyguards wote in the same vehicle zote. If you meet that person, wewe una shida wewe.
No, because si uliona aliweza kushoot wote. Ako kazi. Si ako kazi. he's at work. He's at work. You can't push. You can't put at your anger on that person. To him, kuwa hao watu ni kazi yake.
I'm Dr. Kingori, and here's another reason to subscribe to our channel. Kama hauja subscribe, now's a good time to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications bell. Before to end the show, our conversation has been recorded at Wojo, a premium co-working space in Nairobi, Upper Hill. More about them before the end of this conversation. When I thought, it's a thought, do you think if we were being colonized now, the Kenyan man right now, wangefit kwa Mau Mau?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
And nastaki kuiansa ni kama ninapigana na nitafanya wanaume waanguke, sijaolewa.
Hapana. Ingia mzima mzima.
Tulisema siwezi kuwa Mau Mau. But
yes.
In all honesty,
yes,
being a Mau Mau took a lot of courage. And I think today, we are a spoiled generation kidogo tu.
Yes.
Na sio tu wanaume, hata sisi. Si umeona wa Mau Mau walikuanga both male and female. Tulikuwa tunaenda sisi sote, hakuna kuachwa nyumbani. So nikiangalia in terms of like labda kama wanaume wa siku hizi wangeweza, I think ingekuwa a bit difficult. But at the same time, unajua, okay, maybe mentally, but and also maybe physically kidogo. Juu ndio hawa wakue Mau Mau, ukiangalia kama General Ole Kurito.
Kuna General Ole Kurito?
Yes, juu Mau Mau hawakuwa tu ati wa Kikuyu. No, kuna General Ole Kurito, Nkaipani, hadi kuna huyu mwenye alicreate the name Mau Mau, alikuwa tu half caste wa Mkikuyu na Masai. I'll look for it here in a second. But these guys, they had first been taken to war.
Yes.
They were fighting in the World War. And like somebody like Ole Kurito was 15 years old by the time he was going to war. He was being drafted to fight for the pink man. He was 15. So this guy, akiwa tu kijana, alikuwa ashaanza kujua kukuwa na courage. Umeona? He was forced into it. perhaps you may say that if a situation came, unajua mambo ni kutukuta huwa zinatukuta. Labda ikiweza kuja utakuta hata wewe utasema ai wacha niende nikapigane. You never know. Juu hata Mau Mau ikianza si ati walikuwa wanajua war is coming. They weren't always ati kitaumana venye kiliumana.
Yes.
But it is ni mtu we unasikia haya huyu ameenda kupigania, we utaachwa kwa nyumba peke yako.
No. Very unlikely, very unlikely. But is there, like tunasemanga, and there's a debate whether the current generation of human beings, and let me say human beings, because umesema kulikuwa na men and women, are weaker than the people before. It's
true, they are. Do you know, for instance, the food that we eat today, sio yenye tulikuwa tunakula hiyo time, walikuwa wanakula hiyo time. Ukiangalia even the Kikuyus, the warriors, walikuwa wanarusha mapanga mbali sana. They had strength. For a new rika, for a new age set or age group to become leaders, they had to do something very big, which was calling out a sea creature known as the Damadhia. If you start, and it's written in Motiri Motarani by Kemaniwa Foro. It's written by Louis Leakey, the Southern Kikuyu. It's written, so people can go and find out about the Damadhia. It's in songs. But imagine telling wanaume wa siku hizi waite Damadhia. Kuna kitu inaitwa Damadhia to even start with.
Yes.
Wanasemanga ni stories za jaba. But these guys would call out that creature and remove a scale from that creature. And then that is what would show that they are able to rule. Because us, we are not ruled by kings. We are ruled by different age groups. For instance, elders, tuseme elders, wanakuja sasa hawatakuwa elders sana. They are like, hawajakuwa elders sana. So wako kama age, tuseme, kama 30 going on. So hao tunaruliangwa na watu wengi, but si moja. So hiyo rika, for them to become leaders, they had to now call out that Damadhia. Ndo watwe. So imagine ukiona kitu hujaiona leo.
So the same region that was still is. So hiyo Damadhia imekuwa hizo for the past 100 years, imetulianga tu juu haijaitwa.
That is usually what I also wonder, because somebody like Louis Leakey, he writes about it, and he wanted to see how the Damadhia is usually called out and how it comes out.
Yes.
But he had learned Kikuyu language completely. He had become a third grade elder. Alikuwa amefanya kila kitu ya kukua elder wa Mkikuyu. But still they couldn't allow him. Hawakumuitikia juu walimwambia, yes, unajua language yetu. Yes, umefanya kila kitu. But wewe bado, wewe si Mwafrika. Wewe sio Mkikuyu. So now Louis Leakey, and his name was Karwege. He even had a Kikuyu name.
Yes.
So he sends spies during the ceremony. It's called the Itweka ceremony, to crown the new ruling generation. He sends spies. This was in the early 1900s, when now the new ruling generation, which are called Mwangi, were now choosing to become, were now like showing their ability to become kings and be rulers. So when he sends the spies, the elders get to know of it, and they cancelled everything. So that was the last Itweka ceremony to be done because of that whole kadrama.
And so now I've seen towards the elections, unaonanga, sijui nani has been taken to Central Kenya, has been ordained as an elder. You are now a Kikuyu elder.
It's a lie, ni Wangu. I'm sorry, it's a lie. It's a lie, yeah.
So now,
be proud. Why not rule as your own people's elder? Kuja ukiwa Mkale, the elders of Kalenjin. Sema, I have come as me. You don't have to be, sio lazima ukue elder Mkikuyu for you to rule Kikuyus. Or what do you think?
That's an interesting point, actually. That's an interesting point.
Si wakikataa kukuitikia hivyo si ni shauri yao.
Okay. Na watu wanaweza sema the traditional ama the old school man, in general Kenyan man, may have been stronger physically, but the new age ni mental, like ni akili. Because think about it. Now strength yote, people say that the people who fought for independence walichezwa. Right? What did they really fight for? They fought for other people to reap the benefits, and they and their descendants wakabaki wakisafa.
It's true.
Right? So which kind of strength would you go for?
Do you think that hao wenye waliachwa wakiwa na pesa ama those who reap those benefits?
Yes.
Do you think that today, now that history is being changed, is being known, it's coming out? Because it's usually like you either, I think that the Mau Mau, they died with honor, but hawakuacha generations zao na kitu. Okay. Now hawa walikuwa na pesa, but sasa ikakuwa today ukiona Wakenya wengi, they usually say hawa wako na pesa lakini hawana honor. They don't have it's like they're not really respected that much. At the same time, Mimi, I would rather do what is right,
yes,
than be the person who gets all the money.
Yes.
Na lakini pesa ni poa, but I wish tunaweza ipata in the right way. Just get your money in the right way. Get what you have in the right way. Somebody like, okay, let's see, let me tell you a story, how I'll tell you this story. There's somebody called Dirago. Dirago is the one who shot Kimathi.
Dedan Kimathi.
Yes, Dedan Kimathi. So Dirago gets paid by the British. He buys a bus, but nobody rode that bus. He died a very lonely man, very lonely. So yes, he got the money, he got the reward that the British government was asking for Kimathi, but he died very, very lonely and very bitterly because nobody wanted to associate themselves with him. But Kimathi, he died a hero. The issue with today's world or today's leaders is that they're very selfish. So they don't like to recognize heroes, they don't like to recognize the people who made a country what it is. And that's the unfair part. But for me, I like to do things right.
Yes.
Mimi afadhali kuna kitu inaitangwa, in Kikuyu we usually say good always stays but bad never stays. So I would rather have the good, do what is right, than do what is bad just for a short time, for a short period of time.
Yes.
Yeah, I would rather go with the right side.
Let's go with ikitu ya honor and money. Yes, pesa ni poa, but kuna pia honor. For the most part, you can't have both. For the most part.
You can't.
Right?
And that's life. Life is unfair.
And what you know now, if you are to be taken in a context to choose, soft life, suffering, now you talk in honor. How do you make that decision? Soft life
ama utoke na honor. Hii soft life inakuja na nini? Okay, juu umesema hii hard, yes nitasafa but itakuja na honor. Hii soft iko na nini?
Kuna a businessman in a church elder, I believe alikuwa anaitwa Rohio wa Kongo. Ndio? Alikuwa anasema na wao ndio church elders walikuwa wameshika business, in fact hata in towns they were good money wise, but they collaborated with the white man against the other tribe, and they were the gatekeepers of wealth, right?
The elders.
Yes.
The church elders.
The guy. Let's talk about this specific guy.
That one. Okay,
yes.
yeah.
So now I'm like, these are the people who, for the most part, wanaitangwa old money. They're descendants, right?
But na wao ni tokonia.
Tokonia ni nini?
Tokonia, sio gonia.
Oh, tokonia, magonia. How?
Ni gonia how?
Explain to us hiyo. Kuna tokonia na tugeges.
Tugege.
To explain hizo mbili.
Tokonia ni sasa hao gati. The people who are selling their own people. The Kikuyus who are selling their own Kikuyus.
Yes.
For instance, we have somebody like the paramount chiefs who are the ones collecting heart tax. We have... Let me not say that one.
Twende nayo. Yes.
We have like, even today, the families that you see are old money. Most of them, their forefathers were Tukonia, they were Gati. We have, even that one like Dujago, Sini Gati huyo. Aya, huyu mwenye alikuwa wana date na Wangu WA Makeri. He was...
Wangu WA Makeri alikuwa na chali?
Yes.
They didn't tell us that kwa
Makeri
books.
is the husband.
Aya.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Karuriwa Gakure was like the boyfriend.
So, she was married but alikuwa na boyfriend.
Yes, the concept was called
kitambo.
Yeah, the concept was called Kohada Itimo to nini the spear.
Hiyo lazima utatuexplainia.
Yeah, I'll explain. Oh my God. I'll explain.
Yes.
Sasa tulikuwa wapi?
Nini Tokonia, the families.
Tokonia.
Yes.
So now these people,
yes.
akina the now Karuriwa Gakure and nini Wangu WA Makeri, those were examples of Tokonias. Kenyajui Wagadirimo. Actually, his name was Kenyajui Nogo. Kenyajui the monkey, because of selling the Kikuyu people. He's the one who was put in place of Waiyaiki Way. So even today, it's not that Kikuyus don't know the Tokonias, they do. They don't hold honor. But sasa unaona, juu wengine wao wako na pesa, you know, juu tu ya pesa unakuta like Wakikuyu, kuna Wakikuyu wengine huwa unakuta they are like kama kuwa, you know, bowing down to them and everything. But it's just because of money.
Yes,
Have you
yes,
ever
yes.
been like, I'm just here because of your money?
But then, if there are people who bow to the Tokonias because of the money, this is the same thing Tokonias did to
the British.
So why
and
would you blame
they got
them?
the money. And then they got the money.
Would you blame them?
I would, because they also led to the deaths of so many Kikuyus. So many.
Unajua, I was shocked to learn that during the Mau Mau War, between 1952 when the state of emergency was declared to when we gained independence, kwa wazungu around 32 only ndio walikufa. And I'm not saying only without respect to human life, but in relation to how many Africans died.
Yes.
Because tukihesabu mpaka askari na the police who served the British system, the whole Mau Mau era, around 200 died.
Na huja count hata wa Kisii, huja count wa Kale, juu Wanandi walikuwa na uliwa sana.
Inasemekana by the way inaweza kuwa upwards of 20,000. So that's a very big disparity.
Imagine. And you just ask yourself, anyway, even in history, okay, history ya kukosangi, there's never lacked ati agakonia. Kuna kuanga tu na mtu mwenye atauza watu wake na atauza watu.
Okay.
It's the same thing. You know, the sad part about the whole situation of Tokonias is selling their own people. Those people don't live well. Their ancestry, it doesn't live well. There's a lady who told me that her dad was a Gakonia, was a Gati. And the dad really did work for the British government and sold the Kikuyu in terms of like kuauza, si kuauza in like unaelewa kuauza, like kuasema, all that. So ananiambianga kwao unakuta watu huwa wanakunywa everybody with the father's name. That father who was the Gakonia, wanakunywa wote.
Tumeacha story hapa hanging, but now that you mentioned that, wacha tu tuende nayo. Do you believe that generational curses do work?
I do. You see, in Kikuyu,
yes,
we have 3 things. We actually work naonekana kwa kamera.
Ako sawa.
Oh, so we work with 3 things. It's because I've changed the position.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have Dahu, which is cleanliness. Uncleanliness, Dahu is uncleanliness. We have Irumi, which is now the curses. And then we have Megiro, the forbidden things. So now when we come to things like the Kerumi, Kerumi comes in 3 things, in 3 different types. The generational curse, an individual curse, or the whole nation's curse. Now, why do curses come? Because a wrong was done. Simple. When you do wrong, you have to pay for the consequences.
Given.
Yes. So it's like, okay, now let's say like the individual kirumi, the individual curse. If you steal from somebody, like let's say you steal a camera. That person was using that camera to make what? Money.
Yes.
And then that person anasema, hata tuseme tu anyamaze. The law of the world or the law of God is that you must pay for that. you will pay for that. Like it or not, somehow utalipa. It's what like people say karma, but sasa for us tunaitanga the consequence. Kuna like that, kuna sasa maumerera, what will occur. Hawezi enda hivyo. That's the individual kirumi. The generational curse. Hiyo kama umeua mtu. Kuua mtu umechukua generation yake. So what do you expect about your generation?
Hiyo ni hata ushikwe usiposhikwa.
Ushikwe usiposhikwa. If now okay, let me finish. Then the whole for the nation. If people are disobedient, if people are doing wamefanya mambo mbaya sana, so Mungu akikasirika inakuja. Now curses hazitolewangu ina sijui kuombewa ama nini, no. It's you. Uende urectify chenye ulifanya. Kama ni kamera uliiba moja, rudisha zikiwa 2. Ambia mtu uliibia pole. Na msikizane. The aim is peace. So ni na reconciliation. Musikizane na useme pole, useme ndo hizi kamera zako. Unatoa 2 kwa nini ndo usikie uchungu. Haya, kama ni generational curse, hiyo mwenye alirongiwa, kama ni mtu aliuliwa, wewe enda na familia yako, muambie hiyo familia yenye ilichukuliwa mtu wao poleni. Na msikizane.
Roho safi.
Ndo uende kamiti roho safi tu. Okay. But your children will be fine.
You'll pay the price, but your generation
iko
after.
Sawa.
Also, if you don't have children, unaweza make children before ujiseme. So ukipeleka kamiti, umeacha mtu.
Again?
Someone has killed, for example, and they don't have children. But akienda ndani, generation yake si ataenda nayo. Ataenda nayo internally. So kuna duration ya ku-apologize ama they can go make children first, alafu ndio wajiseme.
Sasa apologizing, uta-apologize. Unajua mambo ikikukuta ni we utapushua ku-apologize. Apologizing ni yako. Hiyo kusikizana, hiyo ceremony ya kusikizana ni yako. Na hiyo ceremony ya kusikizana ni tu mkule pamoja, you are happy together. Kama uko ndani ya kamete, kama hujapelekwa ndani ya kamete, so long as musikizane na wenye ulifanyia vibaya.
So long as you come clean.
Yes. Okay. And na mkulanie museme mimi sikuwa nataka hii, sikuwa na okay, mimi sijui watu wenye huwa wanauana like how that whole thing goes on. But useme tu I did wrong. I know I've done wrong. And you know in this world, by the way, in Kikuyu culture ukiuana hauwezi uliwa wewe. It says the hyena is not given is not fed twice. Si unajua Wakikuyu, when people died, the people who didn't have money, they would throw the bodies. Or like children or young people. For children and young people, hawezi rudisha to the earth something that is young. Juu hakuwa kufe. You get?
Allah?
Yeah, we can't. Unamrudisha aje? Like, that's not a rightful death. Amekufa kwa nini akiwa mdogo? So hakuwa anarudishwa.
So threshold ya kukufa ilikuwa inaanza miaka ngapi? Ukiwa old, tuseme like, ukiwa matura guru, or for the women, she's called kangei, like from 90s above. But so vile alcohol is not for people under 18, pia Wakikuyu alikuwa na burial was not for people under the age of 70.
I don't think so, but I think in terms, okay, let's look at it in terms of like, if a young person dies or a child dies, is it something to celebrate?
No.
No, you've not lived life. You've not enjoyed life. So why are you dying? Why should we celebrate your life? Juu unajua pale mwisho tuta celebrate life, si ndio? Umeishi. Ukaa akikufa si huwa tunasema, ameishi, ameishi. But when a child dies or a young person dies, hatuwezi mrudisha kwa nini?
So that was the culture.
Yeah, okay. Hawezi hakuwa anarudishwa.
Yes.
So now
you're not killed when you have killed.
Yes.
The hyena is not fed twice.
Yeah. So now you see people are being thrown in the nini for the hyenas to eat.
Yes.
So ukiuliwa ni kuue, hapo tumesaidiana aje? Sio ni kufeed the hyena twice. Yeah, hitidere yaga carry.
So
you don't feed
what
it
kind
twice.
of punishment was there for that level of crime then?
Now if you killed, muende musikizane. Asipoitikia kusikizana, anafukuzwa.
Cast out.
Yes. So you go and become a slave. Ukikastiwa out, unajua utaenda kwa watu wengine. Wakuulize wewe umetoka wapi.
Na
usidanganyane. Ama, you know, you can't lie. Because wakijua umetoka Ukikuyuni, ni nini ulifanya huko? Mbona walikufukuza? Mbona usikae kwenu? Mbona usikae? So they are going to, you're going to start from here below. But the concept of ati juu umeuana sasa hata we uliwe, hapana. So now you see it's better muskizane. You get, like, we lower our egos, mwende, mu find peace.
Sawa, hiyo ilikuwa ni kwa explanation ya curses. Umefanya makosa?
And I wanted to just make it very clear. Curse, it's you to rectify. Sio ukienda kuombewa, huyo mwenye anakuombea ni yeye alifanya hiyo kitu ulifanya. Hapana. It's like going to tell to say nataka kuombewa. I don't know if this is going to be sensitive, but can I say it?
Please.
Nataka kuombewa niache masturbation. Kingori, si ni wewe na mkono yako. Pastor alikuwa hapo. No. You see, we need to take responsibility of ourselves. Yes.
And now, in this case, ya makosa na kusameheana, this has nothing to do with Christianity.
No. The main, actually, I used to ask myself, mbona zinafanya hivi?
Almost the same.
Zinafanana. Yes. But then, one of my teachers said to me, there's universal laws in this world. There's universal laws. Yes. And these universal laws, they are well known. Tunajua kuwana ni vibaya. Sindio?
Yes.
And that's where now the Megiro come in, the forbidden things. Because Megiro, they come with the law. Don't do this. Usilale na nanimo. So unajua, as a human being, sio vizuri. So now, nilijua the entire world kuna kuanga na universal laws. And now those ones, we say they are from God.
Yes.
Because every human being inside us, tunajua what is right and what is wrong.
Consciousness.
But sasa, now within the culture, that's why we had the Megiro to remind us. Ukiwana, si vizuri. So kuna kwanga in different cultures everywhere. Yes. Kuna kwanga na universal laws.
Okay. Sawa. So now tuko kwa, so you do believe that curses do work. Na there are different types of curses. Na pia hazitolewi na kuombewa.
Hiyo ni rectify yourself. Kama if, like, for instance, let's say now if you killed somebody, God forbid.
Yes.
And let's say ata wewe you die. Si saa kwa Ukikuyu inasemekananga 4 generations zitasafa juu ya your action. 4 generations.
From you now.
Kutoka kwako. Saa uanze until the 4th one. If there's a wise one hapo, aseme baba yetu alifanya hivi. Ataenda, tuseme huyu ako in your 3rd generation. Ataenda kwa 3rd generation ya wale. Mtu mwenye uliua anaitwa nani? Mwenye anaitwa hiyo jina ya huyo mtu uliua. You see like we have a recurring naming system. So like your grandchild will be named after you. So huyo mtu mwenye mwenye aliuliwa, wataenda wasikizane na watoto wako. Hiyo kitu iishe.
So do we have people alive today that are suffering, paying for the mistakes they don't know ilifanywa na nani kwa clan yao?
No. You see, a curse, you cannot have a curse that the family does not know. Kama kuna kitu wewe unaenda through, usiseme ati everything is a curse. Hapana.
Okay.
Curse ni lazima ijulikane. It's usually known. Hakunanga mtu anajua hako ka historia. By the way, hapa kuna kitu ilifanyika hapa.
Yes.
Hizo isipojulikana basi haiko. Hiyo tu ni work hard, kama ni poverty, you work smart, kama ni you just change things.
Angalia hivi. The world nowadays is scattered. Mtu the great grandfather alifinya mzungu nini uko 1963. Haya, kuna mtoto mmoja alizaliwa wapi? Let's say for example stray bullets. Akona mtoto Isiolo. Ni mtoto wa ule jamaa, right? 4 generations. Labda ako hapa katikati ya hii generation. Si bado inamaanisha they are still anapata
anapata nini? Anapata the curse. Mwenye sasa the stray bullets. But that's why it's important kila mtu and I know like kuna mtu ataona like nimesema vibaya. But it is important to know your people.
Okay.
Please know penye umetoka. Don't be satisfied with just saying I don't know my dad, I don't know my mom, unless ukwe like unajua kuna situations unakutanga like mtu ni orphan alijikuta kwa orphanage. At the same time try to find as much as you can penye ulitolewa hata kama uko kwa ulilelewa kwa orphanage, try to find as much as you can about your history. Kitu yenye inatusumbua na sisi wa Afrika ni ati we don't want to find out who we are in terms of like our history. You get? And the concept of time in African society is that the past is so huge. It has a lot to look at than the future. Unajua future ni kuestimate, sindio. But when you start finding out your history, uta realize kama ni diseases, utajua mbona you suffer from different diseases. For instance, unajua kuna mambo genetic, sindio. Ukijua kwenye umetoka, utaanza kujua like, why do I act like this? Mbona huwa nakasirika? Kumbe it's because of this. So it's important you trace. Kama unaenda through mambo difficult or you unaona kuna vitu tu unapitia, trace your history. It's even good for medical purposes. Trace it. Yes, try as much as you can.
Please. There is something umedrop tukienda pole pole ya huyu alikuwa anaitanishwa na jina ya hule. Huyu alipewa jina ya huyu, so A, B, C, D. What's in a name?
Okay, so actually Kikuyus say a name is just for raising a kid. Right? But now, a long time before the Kikuyus naming system came, people would be called Yekuneko, they would be called Boboe, they would be called, because you're just, a name is just for raising a child.
Just a number plate.
It's just a number plate. There's no name that can't raise a child. But, so, we have ceremonies and different that need to be conducted. For instance, now let's go back. If for instance you as Kingori, you want to get married, you want to do the whole marriage, and you want to pay rorashio. Let's say you want to pay bride price to your wife. But now let's say her parents are not there. So who will you pay bride price to? So now it became that in the event that a parent is not there, the person carrying the name of that parent can do different rituals. Hata akue mtoto anakaaje, hata akue mtoto mdogo atasaidiwa. The names in Kikuyu system are usually to help conduct different ceremonies. Ndo tusiende kwa grave. Do you get? Ndo tusiende kwa kuamsha wenye wamekufa. So if we don't want to avoid kwenda kwa grave ati saa uende upeleke rurashio kwa parent mwenye amekufa, you just get the child who carries that parent's name. Unamchukua, unasema watasaidiwa na elders. If like let's say if a parent had said something that was wrong and that would bring like let's say a curse to the child that they gave birth to, if you want like if and maybe they were angry during that time and they said wewe hutawahi omoka, if that happened and then the parent died, do you know who would help like remove that whole thing? It's the child carrying the name of that person who left that curse. So huyo katoto hata kama ni mtoto mdogo ama mtu mkubwa anakuja anasema me, I am named after so and so, and because now I represent so and so, juu nilisema hivi na hivi, nimechange, nimetoa mambo, wacha kila mtu akae na blessings, nimewabariki nyinyi nyote, because the person you're named after, you become that person.
And it used to work.
So to even today it still works.
Mtu alisema hutawahi omoka, mtoto akuja aseme ni mimi sasa omoka.
Omoka ni hivyo. Nilisema nikiwa nimekasirika, na sasa nimesema hapana, nimeacha kukasirika, ni hivyo. The elders will help the kid so long as the kid can talk.
There's no supernatural link to ati when someone's gone then they are named after someone who's been born into that person.
Okay, in Kikuyu we have resurrection and we have reincarnation, kurudi. Haya, resurrection is sinikurioka. That's why we have the name karaoke.
There are people who used to resurrect.
Not right
Not
now.
literally?
Yes. Not now. There was a time that they will resurrect. That's the teaching that was there.
I heard my grandmother mention something like that, kitambo sana. But I'm like, why did it stop?
I don't know. The resurrection or?
Yes.
Oh, kwenu walikuwa na resurrect?
Nilisikia shosho yangu alikuwa anasema kitu kama hiyo that kitambo sijui they used to put someone in a gunia when he's dead sijui anafanya nini the guy comes back. Yes.
Ana resurrect.
I have a very good memory of my grandmother saying that.
But do you know, like, if you told people that today, they'd tell you you're crazy.
But I didn't. I don't think. Now that you say it, ndio nakumbuka my grandmother saying that, and I'm like, how much truth is in the name karaoke?
Yeah, or morioki. Now, listen. Your grandmother said that, and she said that reassuringly. Si alikuwa ameona. But if you said that,
alikuwa anasema watu wa kitambo.
Oh, alikuwa anasema wa kitambo.
Yes. Alikuwa anasema people used to do that. Mtu anaenda ama na watu wa science watatuambia there was no way of people there was no way people could certify death as people can certify now medically. So labda mtu alikuwa amefaint akaamka akaitwa Murioki.
Perhaps.
Because there is no scientific backing to someone like declared dead legit. Now, in which case, then our ancestors may have buried a lot of people alive.
Kingori, let me tell you, I live in a world where I read about a time when giants were roaming this earth. We have 12 clans of giants. Some would even, you are being described to things you wouldn't believe. And the stories are so, inaitwaje, they are so, ziko so well articulated. So, mimi, I don't usually take things that lightly. Ati maybe mtu alifaint because they knew the difference between fainting and dying. So every single time when I hear something interesting, I try to research. And we look at names, first of all, because our history is hidden in names. So like now, that for karaoke and morioki resurrection, we may not know how they resurrected or whether they resurrected ama ni kufaint. That one we can research on. Okay. But that is a very important point that your grandmother brought about. But today, if you said something like that, utaambiwa hiyo ni uongo.
Jaba.
But jaba ni jaba. But how can we research to see to prove whether it's true or false? But now the whole story about resurrection, when I asked about it, I was told it's a later time. Sio sahi. That's how they explained Morioki kana Kurioka. But then at the same time, why would that name be there if they had not seen someone come back, resurrect?
Kurauka.
Kurauka. Oh, no, but kurauka inaitwa kwarahuka. It's called kurauka, kwarahuka.
Okay.
But morioki na karaoke ni resurrection. Okay. Then you have the reincarnation, usoka. That's where the name Joki comes from, or musoki. So now they come back. So they ni kureincarnate. Sasa hiyo ya wewe
una someone else.
Unarudi kwa mtoto kwa your grandchild. So you will come back as your grandchild. That's how now the concept of kurudi reincarnation is coming.
Is it perception? My grandfather died in September 2003. Later now, I think around the same time, a cousin of mine was born and named after him. Exactly. And this kid, ungemuita jina ingine other than my grandfather's name, he used to cry so much. But ukimuita jina my grandfather, ako sawa. Are we imagining things?
No. Life is very spiritual. It's so complicated. Even their children who ukizaa mtoto tuseme useme sitamuita hiyo jina ya huyo juu simpendi. Huyo mtoto analia unaambia mwenye and you know like unafaa kuita huyo mtoto like after your parent or after your parent, especially in Kikuyu culture. Ukichange hiyo jina huyo mtoto ako sawa. Unakuta ako sawa.
Anakataa jina kabisa. Ala?
Yeah, and it's something that occurs very, very, very ni mara mingi.
Haya, before we discuss the evolution of wealth, tena kuna mahali tena make mental note. Wangu WA Makeri had a husband and a boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and I did a video about this, and so many Kikuyus were telling me that this concept was there even before. But this concept of planting the spear, it came...
Yeah, the Masais.
Yeah, ililetwa sasa into Kikuyu.
No wonder siku hizi watu wanaeka kabro.
Si ndio. Sasa, the whole concept was this. You, if you had a wife, your friend who you are of the same age, angekuja umpatie bibi yako alale na yeye. Now, this is what happened. This is the origin of that whole thing. When the Mau Mau went into the forest, they did leave some did leave some of their women. And so the people who came were Swahilis and Anofi are Nubians and some Indians. And so to get women, these guys learned that the Masais had that practice. Because they had seen the Masais, how they put the spear. Like the Masais have that practice of putting the spear to sleep with their friend's wife. So now they started doing that with the Kikuyu women. Because now the women didn't have men. Their men had gone to fight. So that was not an original Kikuyu practice, but it was borrowed. This is what happened with Wangu. You see, sasa akina siwa walikuwa ngati and they were...
it was just a remedy for dry spell. Nothing.
Thank you.
Okay.
You get.
Yes.
Sasa, now there are Kikuyus who have argued that, oh, they were doing it to get children, I don't know, like usikue na mtoto moja, labda amegonje, usikue ati watoto wako, thank you, hivyo ati, labda watoto wako huwa wanagonjeka, alafu ati upate mmoja nje. No, si hata ukipata huyo mmoja nje, si anaweza gonjeka. So, it didn't solve anything. That was just like, to create, kufanya tu mambo ya dry spell.
And before someone tests your wife, were you discussing it ama ni surprise?
Now the interesting thing is that akina Karori, who are left like now as the Gati and Tukunia, Wangu WA Makeri's husband, who is now Makeri, did give permission to Karori to be sleeping with his wife.
Give permission?
Yes, they did. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It was not...
did the wife consent?
Yes, and she fell in love with Karori. And that's why the downfall of Wangu is usually that she danced the kifata, right? The dance that was danced by Kikuyu warriors. So that dance was not supposed to be danced by women. Kikuyu warriors were dancing that dance, not all full naked. They would cover some parts. But then that dance was specifically for warriors, Kikuyu warriors, and she danced that dance naked to impress Karori. And that's when now the men started like being like, no, that's it.
She danced naked?
Yeah.
So Instagram, TikTok is not at new. No. We didn't have cameras then.
No, it wasn't. It's not new. There's nothing new under the sun, Kingori. Even like if you read about ancient Egypt, they had huge technologies. Big technology. How did they build the pyramids? Nobody knows. But watu wanaanzanga kusema, you listen to history documentaries, wanasema ni aliens. No, sio aliens, ni watu. It is black people. I don't know when we are going to stop attributing the strengths and the architectural heights of Africans to otherworldly things. No, it is Africans who built those pyramids. And to this day, hakujulikani venye kulijengwa. So it means labda kuna civilization ilikuwa na technology kubwa sana. Yes.
Na evolution of wealth sana Tokonias na the Mau Mau. Didn't people feel the need to settle this mapema ama once they came back from the forest wakapata everything has been shared, they had no choice, they had to remain poor people?
Yeah, there's a... Okay, and this is just a story by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, but it depicts that whole situation so well. It's called Matigari, Majirogi. Now, Matigari is a man who was in the forest, and he comes out when Kenya has already found independence and they have a leader. But then he finds, he just wants to go to his house.
Yes.
to the house that the Mzungu had taken from him. He just wants to go to his house. But you see, the issue becomes that the regime of that time does not allow him to go take back what was his. So Matigari usually forms an alliance with a lady called Clean. I called her Clean, but in Kikuyu it is Wodera. And Wodera is usually a sex worker. But then they form an alliance whereby Matigari, because alikuta country ikiwa imenyamazishwa juu ya woga. So nobody was trying to oppose the government, nobody was trying to do anything. But Matigari is very courageous and he creates a whole revolution to go and get his house back from the Mzungu, who is already still there. Now, whose son is now the one in that house. But the government makes it so hard for him. So now, when I relate that story to how now the Mau Mau came, they found that things had really changed. Already, Nairobi ilikuwa gawanwa. There's something my mom usually tells me, Nairobi iligawanwa mapema. So they found that the regime was there. They were not for Mau Mau, they were already selfish. For instance, the first regime started to say, oh, nothing is for free. In this country, nothing is for free. You have to work. Yet the pink man had taken land for free.
That's the second time you mentioned the pink man.
Yes.
Is the white man?
No, this is white. Kingori, this is white. This is white.
So nothing like the white man?
No, pink. They are pink. The pigmentation, if you look at the pigmentation, they're usually pink.
Okay.
When we talk about white, he ni white. Mi sijai ona mtu anakaa hivi. So, and that is in the book, The African Civilization by Dr. Kikuyu. He talks about how we were lied to, that this one is pink, this one is brown. We have so many shades.
Okay.
We have so many shades, but hatunanga white. Hata wa Afrika, kuna brown, kuna dark, kuna ushaiona wa Afrika dark kabisa hadi wana shine na ka blue.
Mpaka wa blue, eh?
Thank you.
Yes. So he comes, Nairobi imegawanwa kila mtu. Sudan kuna purple. So now,
yes, and they're so beautiful. I usually think I'm the one who only okay.
No, they're purple. So they come, anaambiwa Nairobi imegawanwa na
asubuhi. Iligawanwa asubuhi na hakuna kitu ya free. Na wakaitwa, they were called what? Like bandits.
Yes. Ah, okay. So now, inamaanisha wali kuchezwa ilikuwa wao, they did the bidding for someone else.
They did the bidding for somebody else. Wenye walikuwa in the forest, and I think we were just naive. I think as Africans, all of us, we were naive because that's why like tunapenda kukaribisha watu. But at the same time, these guys, wakiwa kwa forest, they were thinking they're fighting for themselves and the land, for the majority of their people. But wanakuta sasa hawa wenye waliacha wamekuwa capitalistic, wamefunzwa kifunzo kingine, so now they are working for themselves.
Sawa. I'd like you to address kitu naonanga watu wakiongea. Like, where was my grandfather when other people's grandfathers were grabbing land?
Yeah.
What do you say to someone who feels let down by their grandfather? You
work hard so that you don't become that grandfather that sasa watoto wako wawe wasema, where was my grandfather when the others one? You work hard.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Be the grandfather that
your grandfather wasn't.
Yes. Now, tukirudi nyuma kidogo, the Wangu WA Makeri story is very interesting. And sawa, Kohada Iko was Itimo was there's Iko is different. Itimo was something different. So now, how do you know that you are a descendant of your and this is a general one.
Yeah.
How do you know that your grandfather is your real grandfather? Labda wewe ulikuja ukapandwa na mkuki.
Oh,
wewe hata ni Masai.
Wewe hata ni Masai. Your mother. Unaona, actually it's funny, but in Kikuyu, my mother used to tell me something very interesting. She used to tell me your mother is the only one who knows your father. And that's why we have maito. In Kikuyu we say maito. Maito, our truth. When we call mother.
you can't know for sure. Sababu Wamukuki alikuja jana and your real father came the next day. How do you know?
No, because like because of those issues, labda hatungejua vizuri, hatungejua nani
who is the real father.
But I will tell you, the women did have family planning that was natural.
How?
Yes, they used to have castor seeds. They would take castor seeds. Ukikula mbegu ya castor, ukicrush mbegu ya castor seed, uikule, you don't get pregnant for 10 months.
No matter what.
Yeah.
10 months?
Yes.
Ukikula mara moja?
Yeah. So they weren't having babies at in Kikuyu culture. You can't have a baby. Okay, today it happens, but back then ungepata mtoto kama huyu mwingine hajafikisha 3 years old. As a mother, ulikuwa, and it was frowned upon. So you had to spend time with your first kid or your second kid. Ukae na yeye akue, like mu create bond. So ungepata mtoto kama huyu mwingine hajafika 3 years old. So now it led me to find out how were they doing that. They had castor seeds.
Now, why
walikuwa na family planning.
Okay, castor seeds ni P2 ya them days.
Si P2 ni, unajua si P2 inakuanga ya emergency ama sinakuanga ya emergency.
So hii ni before. Now why don't people use that? And I believe it's
the same
safer.
question. It's even safer. Si kama hizi inaitwa diplo ya kudungwa, inacheza na hormone zako. Hapana, sio kama hiyo. Bariki.
But na bado ziko. Castor is still available.
I use castor oil for different things like napakanga kwa, if you don't want to get cramps, you apply it. Kama nini inaitwa nini? Shida za tumbo. Castor oil is the most penetrative oil kwa skin. It's a very good oil.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But sasa castor seeds bado ziko.
Okay.
Yeah, hakuna home ilikuwa inakosa hizo seeds.
Now then, I believe tumeguza what many people would call African spiritualism. For the most part. What's the difference between African spiritualism and witchcraft? Okay.
So okay, now can I define this in terms of like good and evil? Witchcraft is haisaidiangi in the research that I have done within my culture. Witchcraft was highly frowned upon. Why? Because it was done secretively. Ilikuwa inafanywa secretly. Mbona msiweke mambo in the open? Haya. Secondly, it was done for could destroy mtu. Haikuwa inajenga mtu in any way. Thirdly, witchcraft ilikuwa performed by people who are liars, by people who used to be very corrupt, by thieves. And so immediately if you were seen that you were doing witchcraft, ulikuwa unachomwa na nini, na banana leaves.
Yes.
So unachomwa alive. That's how much it was frowned upon.
Yes.
So the difference is that witchcraft haisaidiangi mtu, si kitu inakubuild. Hata we mwenye unaperform, sio kitu inakubuild. And it was there. Okay. But now, Dr. Louis Leakey usually says, what would happen is that hata yeye mwenyewe hakupata information nzuri. Juu nao wenye walikuwa na practice walikuwa wamejificha sana. Walikuwa wanaogopa wasipatikane. Juu wakipatikana watachomwa. Haya, sasa. Now the good. We have, so now when I speak of that, I have spoken about the witches, Arogi.
Yes.
And the Arogi, there were 2 different types of witchcraft. There was the witchcraft to cause death. And then that was...
and a specialized.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was the witchcraft that was for punishment. Haya, witchcraft to cause death ilikuanga, Mkikuyu hakuwa anaangalia ati kama nikikuwekea poison, hiyo ni scientific, ati nimekuwa by way of poison, hapana. Hiyo alikuwa anajua hiyo ni witchcraft. Na ni poison. So kwake alikuwa anasema si nimefanya ukufe. So bado si nimekuroga.
Then justifies the means.
So like now, that witchcraft for death, the consequence for that was, yani hadi by law ilikuwa imekataliwa Kikuyuni, kuana ilikuwa imekataliwa. Now the witchcraft for punishment ni tuseme ni wewe uibiwe kitu, useme sasa nani ameniibia. Sasa you throw the spells that anybody who has stolen from you atapitia, atapanishiwa.
Yes.
So ndo unaonanga watu wametoka ukambani na manyuki nini. No, hiyo ni witchcraft or punishment. It was there.
Bluetooth.
Yes, hiyo. Now I've talked about the Arogi, the witches, and the whole Orogi.
Yes.
We go to two people, very important people. Arathi, who are the seers, and Adwago. Adwago are like today's what we call doctors, researchers, professors. How? They were so well in tune with research. They knew different trees, how those trees help in herbs. They knew herbs. They also knew, each specializing in their different ninis. But walikuanga wamefanya research ya kirira. You know, kirira ni the word like sasa about our culture. They walikuwa wame research sana. They were highly respected.
Yes.
And some you would even say some are the pastors of today. Most pastors of today came from a lineage of Adwago. Yeah, because the
Mogo.
yes,
Where Mogo comes from, the name Mogo.
yeah.
Ago. Okay.
No, Mogo comes from the name talent. It's a gift. It means
different
Ogo.
from
Ogo.
difference from Adwago.
No,
okay.
It's not different. It just shows Adwago, they have a gift.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Ogo means gifts. So now, if you look at today, it is said that like unaona pastors wengi walitoka from that lineage of Adwago. You find that kulikuwa na mtu kwao alikuwa na hizo knowledges, but sasa when the whole religion came, wakanini. And then we have Arathi. Those are the seers. They were highly respected. They were more respected than the Adwago because these guys were living meagerly. They didn't have money. Some didn't even have homes, but they were taken care of by the community because they would foretell different things about the nation. So they were highly taken care of, but hata wakiangaliwa wakipewa hata mbuzi unakuta anaishingi too simple, very easily. So now those two, they are the ones who led and they were the ones who taught the nation the different ways of that God requires us to live by.
Yes.
And actually the Murathi, it is said he was pointed by God at a different age. He didn't have to start as a kid or anything. No, when God pointed him, he was the one to like tell people, this is where you're going wrong, that's why we have famine. This is where you're going wrong, that's why we have tunakutwa na ingoki. Ingoki ni epidemics. Juu hazijaanza sahi. Hata vaccines tulikuwa nazo, but hazikuwa like kubwa kama za sahi, but tulikuwa nazo kama ya smallpox.
And there's a chief who's credited, I don't remember the name, but it's a very popular name, who managed to do quarantine. And this story came up around COVID times.
Yes.
Yeah, yeye peke yake ndio, he managed to contain smallpox from
Motomo
spreading into his territory.
Yes. Smallpox is called Motongo. It's where the name, I think it...
Sisi, a king of your boys. Sunday nimeshikanisha. Si watu wote wa pimples, mtu akiona pimples, tuko naziita Motongo.
See, you see?
Okay. Now I make...
So, okay, did I answer the question of the difference? Did you?
Yes,
okay.
very well explained.
Okay. Sasa...
Nini, Motongo?
Motongo.
Yes, containing...
The Motongo.
Yes.
Tulikuwa na quarantine, na tulikuwa na vaccine. We look at the names. Yes, we look at the names. Now, in researching history, our languages zinabebanga a lot of history.
Yes.
Unaona hizi words tunatumia, kwa zinabeba a lot of history. And that's why we encourage, teach your generations their language. This is why. We have the name for vaccine, Rosaja, vaccination, chanjo.
Yes.
Thank you, chanjo. And then we have the name for nini, for how now we have from that Rosaja
vaccine,
quarantine, keherine, kuwekwa keherine, to be put aside.
Yes.
So now from those two words, we can find out how this happened. So now we start reading from books and researching. So we learned there was, and I say we because we are usually a lot. So we learned that there was Motongo. How did they contain it? First of all, they started by quarantine. So ukipata hizo symptoms, unapelekwa kwa kahat kako, a family member of yours atakuja anakuwekea chakula karibu na hati yako, alafu anaenda ndo asipate Motongo. So kila siku watakuja wanakuwekea food. But now the Kikuyus learned that kuna watu walikuwa wakifika mahali wanapona. Kuna wenye watakufa, but kuna wenye watafika mahali wapone. So they realized hawa wanapona wanafanya nini? So they started to take the blood from the people who had
gotten better.
Sasa wewe hawa wengine wenye wamegonjeka, ukitaka hiyo janjo, ukitaka hiyo chanjo, watachukua they will take like they started taking not the blood, sorry, they started taking, unaona pimple hiyo inaitwaje? This mahira inaitwa.
Yes. Pass. Yes.
The pass. You see the pass from that person who's already reached that height, sasa ni kupona, anaanza kupona. They started taking the pass, they would take the mwiba, dunga that pass, put the pass on a leaf, and then wanaenda wakidunga hawa wenye hawajagonjeka. Wanaanza kudunga. So hiyo inakuwa imefanya usigonjeke. It is a preventative nini. So that's how now the vaccination program was being done.
And this was before the coming of the white man.
Yes. Juu sasa hiyo si white man angekuja na sindano. Si umeona tunatumia mwiba.
Yes.
Tunatoa pass kutoka kwa huyo mwenye amefika hapo juu, anaanza anaanza sasa kupona, tunaitoa, tunaiweka kwa leaf, tunaenda sasa hiyo mahira ndo tutadunga watu nayo.
I understand.
Hapo amekuja.
Hey, that's deep. That's deep. Now, knowing what you know, you have a view of how things have gone. We have the Tokonias, the Tugeges, who made money, some of them tunaita old money. Of course, with full recognition of people who made genuine wealth, people who've exploited business in the right way, right? But let's go to hawa wengine who exploited the people who went to the forest. Knowing that and how things have turned out, I'm sure there are people who live well, but they were Tokonias.
Even their generations.
Yes, no cases, no need. When you look at that, what's your view on justice?
Okay, very good. Now, I see like, you see the system that we had before the coming of the white man, people usually say that we didn't, especially in Kenyan communities, walikuwa wanauliza we didn't have huge civilizations zenye zinajenga manyumba. But I disagree. Hata kama hatukuwa tunajenga hizo manyumba, our ancestors ensured that their people found justice, their people were at peace, their people were well fed, and their people walikuwa hawakuwa hawakuwa na mashida hizi za kutotoshekana. Unakuta walikuwa wanaangalia watu wao vizuri through their justice systems and everything. Now, how comes when we were brought about now the justice system here, the pink man and everything, why did things change? Because we used to be ruled by Ma na Kihoto, truth and justice. If there was truth and justice with the system of the pink man, those Tokonias hawangekuwa sahi old money. The Mau Mau would have been the ones who are living well. They would have been the ones who are now wangekuwa compensated.
Would you say, as in wewe say, for the research you do, very sharp, very clever, and you carry a lot of knowledge with you. This means you are a beneficiary, and I think acha nionge from a different perspective. You are a beneficiary of what the pink man brought, education, right? Would you say that the Mau Mau were shortchanged because they resisted everything, even what they would have benefited from in the new system?
Now, let me ask a question. Just because I have benefited from education, did it mean that there was no education before the pink man came?
You have adapted to the new system.
I have just adopted to the new system. Because at the end of the day, yes, I have benefited from some things. I have. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean I just wish that the Mau Mau wangepata a better system of things, of justice and everything. Umi huwa nashindwa kama kungekuwa sasa hata wangeitikia, si bado walikuwa wanauliwa. Look at somebody like let's go back to somebody like Dedan Kimathi. Hangewekwa jela, si aliuliwa. The Mau Mau, it's like they weren't going to win either way. Either way hawangeshinda.
If Dedan Kimathi was a Gakunia, right? Like if he collaborated, went through the education system, and then this is stupid, but I'll say it. I decided to go with let me change the system from within.
Yeah, like Haridhuku. Unasema Haridhuku. Because Haridhuku did collaborate. Haridhuku, he got into the system and then later started fighting. Yes, he later started fighting. That's what he did.
Wouldn't that be the smart play?
It would have been. It would have been. But if the Mau Mau were not there, Dr. Kingori, tungepata, if there was no person fighting in those forests, do you think slowly, it would have taken so much for us to get independence, hata na hiyo masomo. There were, let's get to the 3 types of people who were there during that time. We had people like Haridhuku, akina nao Kenyatta, who were fighting with the pencil and creating laws and trying to push there for like nini, hawakuwa radical. Then we had now the Mau Mau, who are more radical. Walikuwa wanasema apana, tokeni, uma, get out. Tumechoka na nyinyi. These two walikuwa wana work walikuwa wana work simultaneously. One without the other, hakungekuwa na nini? Hakungekuwa na independence. Juu if you look like somebody like akina Tomboya, sio tu ati walikuwa tu akina Kikuyu. The people, even Tomboya, si alikuwa na work na akina nini, hiyo ya pencil na creating laws to help Kenya gain independence. All those people. Somebody like, there's this Aluo man, he has a road named after him. He has a very beautiful name. Kodek. Thank you. Thank you. Him. See, they were working together to create the laws and everything to help Africans get a better whatever it is. But hizi sides mbili, kama moja ingekuwa, moja inge succeed. Na kama ingine ingekuwa, hii ingine inge succeed.
So everybody played their part.
Everybody alikuwa anacheza role yake. But hawa, if the system of government was good, kama wenye walipewa power, akina Kenyatta, akina Moi, wangekuwa wazuri, si hawa wangekompensetiwa vizuri. But no, these guys had already been selfish.
Other than that, what's the other ultimate form of betrayal? And I'll give example that you've seen through the history books. Number one, there is the story of, and this is, I think, I ask for forgiveness in advance for quoting social media.
No problem.
There's a video of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta with, it's not a general China, because
it is the Meru guy.
The Meru guy, the tall guy.
Yeah, he's Mwariama.
General Mwariama. And people say that, in fact, there is something he said, like the former president was very uncomfortable with
his own people. Unasema Moi ama Kenyatta?
Mzee Jomo Kenyatta.
Yeah,
ilikuwa inasemekana system ilimukula immediately after. Like, yes, you are my person, but then now you have to go. Waiyaiki Wahinga, I believe, also suffered the same fate.
Yeah, he was Waiyaiki Wahinga. Waiyaiki Wahinga took himself to the pink man.
He took himself.
Yeah.
What's the story?
Waiyaiki Wahinga, this is what happens. He gets angry that his land has been taken. And he's like, najipeleka huko. So he goes to find, what's his name? The pink man who was the administrator hapo. Sijui ama ni anaitwa aje, si Lugard na si nitamkumbuka. But he goes and finds the man there. But then when he starts, they start talking. But then at the end wanaanza kukorofishana. Wakikorofishana, Waiyaiki Wahinga anashikwa na askari wa huyu mkubwa. And then wanamshika, wanampeleka nini, on their way to, si walitumia Waiyaiki Way, nini, Wakikuyu wakafuata, wakamshika, walikuwa wanaenda kumzika alive. Yes, but Wakikuyu walienda na their leader, Wakilianga, wakamfuata, ikafika mahali Waiyaiki akawaambia, sasa wacheni sasa niende, but my generations, they will live freely. And that's when now the Kikuyus went back home, and some Waswahili who are coming this way, that's when they came and told the news that Waiyaiki had been buried alive. and now he was no more. So Waiyaiki took himself. The betrayal that he got like was iyo ya Kenyajua Gathirimo who was Arakonia, and you know kuna watu walikuwa of course wanauzana.
Yes. But there's a lot of that.
Yes.
There's a lot of that. Na nikiuliza
about Mwariama.
Yes, Mwariama.
The ultimate betrayal.
There is so many of that actually, because he was also eaten by the system. Because if I remember, niliona kitambo, if I remember correctly, inasemekana they were, after their relevance was imeisha.
Imagine, so let's kill them because they'll ask for land and to me sasa. And you see in that picture how Mwariama eyes are usually like this. So unaonanga ziko.
Yes.
Unajua hiyo ni trauma.
How
Ukipata
so?
trauma, like these guys were in the forest for so long and they were seeing very many hard things there, animals. Unakuta like wazungu wamewakuta, wameua watu wako, mulikuwa kwa same troop, wameuliwa. Those guys had trauma. So macho yako ni ugonjwa, ukipata trauma sana juu ya mambo mingi unakutanga macho yako iko unaanza kunini.
So hiki tunasemanga,
it is common in war.
Hiki tunasemanga ati eye opening.
Wapi ni trauma.
Si hata nini.
Ni trauma, ndo unaona ako hivyo. Hauonangi hata picha au wanakanga kama wameshtuka. So like now that's where now you ask me the question of would today's people be able to do that?
No.
So those guys are strong. But I do think that wanaweza, nilisema mambo ni kutukuta inatukutanga, tukiweza kuwa in war sahi.
Una deal na
si unaenda tu natoka.
Imekuja. Na post independence, most of the research and most of what we've talked about ni the before. Right? How did they now manage to make sure that people don't go back to the forest again to deal with the new regime that had become the new white man?
And I'm glad you understand that the new regime was the new white man, because it was like now the presidents had, it's like sasa ni wazungu wale wapya. So how did they make sure they didn't do that? I think kuwaweka uoga.
The killing?
There was the killings, but pia kuweka watu uoga through the killings. So there's was it the second regime that had ilikuanga hata kuongea unajiangalia chenye unaongea ndo usishikwe.
Yes. The one
even
that
Stalin used to use those tactics. Akina Stalin si walikuwa wana ni kama kuchezewa psychology. You don't know nani munaongea na yeye anaweza enda kukureport.
A lot goes into that.
Yeah, and when you play with human psychology, it's so funny because why did people become so fearful when before they were in Mau Mau? Si hata Mau Mau si walikuwa wanaweza kujipanga, wakakunywa the oaths and everything. And they didn't fear being killed. I think the generations had just changed kidogo. I think, and that's now the story. Now, you remember the story I told you about Goge wa Thiong'o, that Matigari found a very scared people who are not being able to stand up for themselves. But Matigari was courageous and he starts a whole revolution. I think now the new regimes, post-independence, had learned how to play with people's psychologies. Unakuta like, hapa niko wewe tukiongea na wewe sijui wewe utaenda kunisema wapi. Na hiyo mambo ya kusemana hiyo sio poa. It's so
the pre-independence Kenyan is divided into the gangsters wale wa by the we don't snitch like we don't roll like that. There is the collaborators.
Same thing as the Tokonia and the heroes. It's like nothing has changed. After now unakuta bado kuna Tokonia tunaenda kusemana in case like wakiona mtu hafurahi na hii regime wanaenda kusemana huyo mtu anashikwa.
And na Dedan Kimathi alipeanwa aje with this guy who later comes to invest the money he was given?
Dirango, he shot Dedan in the forest.
How did he get access to him?
There was there was somebody there was like unajua because Dirago was Kikuyu, of course he had kwenye Dedan amejificha from somebody from that same nini. There was a betrayer hapo. So when Dirago went into the forest, they were searching all over. Even he had pink officers who went into the forest with him. But Dirango was the first one to spot Dedan. and he akam shoot but hakukufa hapo hapo. Juu walimbeba wakambeba ndo wakuje wamzike. Yes. But umeona bado ni mtu alibetray Dedan hapo hapo.
Na people know the generation ya kutoka the guy who shot him. Mnajuanga hii familia wanaishi wapi and how they are coping.
Yes. You get whenever like when I did a video of Dirangosi kuna watu waliniambia unakuta kuna mtu amesema I come from that family. When I do even a video of Kenya Ajui Wairimu you find that was my grandmother. That was my grandfather.
Okay.
When I do a story of Waso, that was my grandmother. Okay. Wengine wananiambia shut up.
They are very mad.
Don't talk about my grandmother, yes. Na wauliza, sasa na ni mambo ya historia. Hata wewe kuna mtu anaongeleleanga story zako. Okay. This is our history.
Sawa. And I think with your permission, there's a very painful segment of your life that personally I'm curious about. That hits directly in your family. And I think I found out very interestingly, scrolling your TikTok videos, you point at your head, and then an image of a person I've been looking for information on, I've asked people about so much, turns out to be your dad.
Yes.
When the MP, Honorable Muchai, according to the story that we have, it happens in Kenyatta Avenue, right at the center of the town. Your dad gets shot and there is CCTVs everywhere. There was family there and the people knew who they were coming for. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Were you in that?
No, no.
Wewe ulipatwa na nini?
My dad alikuwa na families mbili. He had many families. He had many families.
Yes.
Si hata mbili, there are many. So like mi sikuwa part of that.
Yes. Hii news inakupata ukiwa wapi?
When first of all, before that, my dad had come to my school to open some classes.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in Meriliki.
Yes.
So he comes, he opens the classes, and I'm so happy because this, for the first time, mimi mamangu ni alikuwa anakuja meetings za shule. Then for the first time, it's my dad coming. And I had not told anybody that my dad alikuwa MP.
Yes.
So now, he comes, he gives a speech. He says, the previous year I had just been diagnosed with an eye disease and I had gone for surgery. So like that whole year, sikuwa nimeenda shule. So he tells people, my daughter studies here and I would like you msaidie venye mtamsaidia juu hajakuwa shule for 1 year. And the girls like him. And then he says, you want to see my daughter? Yes. And then I stand and everybody's shocked. And then my dad had a way with kids, so everybody just liked him. So now after opening the classes, we talk, the girls tell me, ebu tulete baba yako class yetu. He promises my class, because I was in Form 4, he promises my class, anybody who was getting an A, sijui atapewa 50K, uyu mwingine B. And then he asks me, he used to call me Mims, he asks me, Mims, sasa wewe utapata hiyo 50K. And I remember us just being so happy.
Yes.
And then I hug him. And I remember when I hugged him, I was like, I am hugging you, but I feel like I will miss you for a long time. So I stayed there hugging him. And then later, after a week, and then he goes, he tells me, Mims, I am so happy, we've spent time, I'll see you when you close school. And he brought me the Constitution. I had asked him for the Constitution, so he brought me. So now, like, hiyo ilikuwa January 31st. A week later, nikiosha classrooms, nikiosha stairs, msichana anakuja ananiambia, Wairimu, unaitwa ofisi. Hey, nakuta mamangu ofisi. Mamangu hataki kuniangalia akiwa na marafiki zake. But before my dad died, he was getting threatened. And I'd ask him, Dad, unaona like hii mambo inaenda aje? I'd call him and ask him, unaona hii mambo inaenda aje? Ananiambia, I will conquer. Alikonkariwa at the end. But then, and it's okay. At least now I can talk about it.
Yes.
But sasa, my mom came with her friends, and then like haniangali, wakatan, I remember now the deputy is looking at me so sadly. And then they say, Andy, go pack your bags, you're going home kidogo. So nikaingia kwa gari nikakuta radio imetaniwa down. Wameweka radio place inashina hausikii anything. So when we got home,
They didn't tell you anything at school? Okay.
My mom tu amenyamaza tu hapo nyuma. So when we got home, that's when I got home and her male friend was like, unajua kuna kuanga na watu wako na wivu, kuna kuanga na watu wabaya. And then I cut him short. I was like, hapana, niambie ukweli, he's dead. Amekufa.
Wewe ulijibreakia news?
I broke Kikuyus, you can't help but make a joke.
No, it's not a joke. Okay, so I withdraw.
Well, nijibreakia news. I broke the news for myself. And then he started trying to tell me, hapana, unajua kuna watu wabaya. Nikamwambia, no, he's dead, isn't he? Akaenda saa straight to the point, akaniambia, your dad was from a meeting, ilikuwa 3, sijui alitoka akachukua newspaper, and he got killed, he got shot, he died on the spot, together with all his bodyguards, walikufa. And me, I just broke down. I cried. And it was so sad. It was so sad. Unaona venye huwa mnaenda kuona body. Na Wakikuyu, sisi we are not, hatupendi kifo. We don't like getting involved with death. Ndo unaonanga tuwa tunazika haraka. Actually, even tene haikuwa tunamaliza a day. Ni kuzika hiyo same day tunazika. But let me tell you, unaona kwa casket, me, I was touching my dad while crying. Even my mom, alikuwa anamguza, anaambia Mungu, oh God, please remember this man, mukumbuke. Like, and then, like, I remember, tulikuwa tunamwambia rest well, lala tu. Tulikuwa tunamguza. We were so saddened by that whole thing. It was hard.
And sasa, this comes in different stages, because for a family like yours, it doesn't go away. Like, kuna hiyo the news inakuja, sasa kuna tena news, na tena kuna tena conspiracy theories.
Yes.
So how do you manage to ride through this process? Conspiracy theories from the members of the public. Let me speak sasa as Kenyans. Let's say for example, ukiingia Twitter, kila mtu anasema so and so is responsible, so and so is responsible. How do you ride through this? Do you hate people in installments? Like, oh, Wakenya wanasema we hate this one. Oh, no,
oh, my dad had already told, like, in talking with my dad, he was having issue with the place he was working. He was having issue with Kotu. So it's that simple.
Amkuwa teacher investigation, you already know. Like, he knew what the threat was, and he knew what he was dealing with.
Yes, he knew.
That's a difficult place to be.
Yes.
Yeah, unajua ukikuliwa nani amekukula.
Yes. But do you know something? I think we are a very funny family. We didn't fight with them. My father had worked for Kotu for very many years. But it's only his secretary who came for his burial. And, you know, and I remember her telling me, Wairimu, sasa, Aki, and she was crying. None of his other co-workers came for his burial. Only that one secretary. And I remember because she introduced herself. Yeah. So
as someone who...
because you want to find peace, and as I said, Kikuyu culture kunanga mambo mob. Mtu wenu akifanywa vibaya mnanyamaza. It's worse, uafadhali tu unyamaze kuliko ushinde ukipigana na watu. Let it be with God.
Now, so basi you consume news content differently at that time. Everyone else is speculating. Nyi mkiona news mnasikia investigations. You already have the conclusion.
And can I tell you something?
Please.
Between let's say you unataka kuondoa mtu. Ukilipa mtu, ni nani mbaya, ni nani was, huyo mwenye anafanya kazi, sio ni kazi yake. Who is was wewe mwenye. So imagine that's his work. You know, even one of my dad's drivers, he's called Waiyaiki. He called me and said, Mimo, don't usibebe watu, lakini sana ujue wenye walifanya hiyo, the action itself, hiyo ni kazi yao. It's their job, Kingori, that's their job.
That's a very controversial thing, unasema Ju. We actually addressed that in one of the previous episodes. Between the people who've been sent to kill someone and the people who sent them, who's responsible? wewe unasema the person who pulls the trigger ako job.
Ako job.
So if in a hypothetical situation, if you met the person who did the contract, and I believe this as a family is very difficult because sasa watu wakianalyze your situation because Kenyan analysis pia ni one person alikuja bodyguards wote in the same vehicle zote. If you meet that person, wewe una shida wewe.
No, because you can see it's his job. Si uliona aliweza kushoot wote. Ako kazi. Si ako kazi. he's at work. He's at work. You can't push. You can't put at your anger on that person. To him, kuwa watu ni kazi yake.
That's how he feeds his family.
The issue ni na hawa wenye wamepanga. Okay, hata yeye atalipa. Si atalipa tu siku moja kujua kuchagua hiyo kazi ya kuuana. But you have to separate yourself from sasa you have to separate yourself from this person. Yeye anafanya kazi. Kama huyu hakumletea hiyo nini contract ya kuuana, huyu angeuana.
Okay.
And then huyu ana exist juu kuna watu wako na hiyo need. Huyu mwenye kazi hii ya kuuana, why does he exist? Because kuna watu anapatanga hizi ma contracts on a regular. Ni kama mrogi. Mbona mrogi ana exist juu kuna mtu anataka kurogana.
Na wewe how do you free your spirit from anger, especially from mtu nje anaweza tafuta revenge? How do you free your spirit to is it time? Is it knowledge?
Oh, I was angry, but I was angry. I remember that period. So you know, grief is usually like unakuanga na steps. But also, you just view people as the people who conduct such things or who do those things are very pathetic, because how many Muchais will come? Utashinanga ukiwaua. Si huyu akiondoka si kutakuwa na mwingine. Will you keep killing? No, you have to face an issue. Kama mtu anakusumbua, face huyo mtu head on. Museme huyu ni mwanaume, tuangaliane ana kwa ana. Tujaribu ku create a solution. But sasa ukisema ni kuana unaua huyu sasa who was the first person to be killed in Kenya in terms of like nini?
Pio Gama Pinto.
Pio Gama Pinto, them Hindi guys, ndio. Yes. And that, by the way, I'll do a video on that. That man was very good in also the whole independence and post-colonial or nini that he played part in. He was like akina JM Karaoke. Pio Gama Pinto. Yes, they were like nini. See, he was a journalist who used to write about like how the country can grow. He played a huge role.
So nailing him was to silence the
Pio Gama Pinto, yes. So after Pio Gama Pinto, JM. Kulikosa kukuja Tomboya? Hapana. Kulikosa kukuja Roberto huko? Hapana. Muchai? Kutakuwa tu na mtu mwingine. We need now as Africans to start thinking badala ya kuuana, si to solve two issues. We put our egos down to solve two issues.
Sometimes it's an ego thing.
It's an ego thing. It is an ego thing. It is an ego thing. And the moment human beings are inafika mahali tuweke ego zetu chini tuongee, tutaenda mbali sana.
Hey, that's very deep.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at all these things, like both what history teaches us about us as a people, how we live, the lessons we choose to learn, and what we choose to ignore. What do you think of us as a society?
I think we, as Africa, like can we talk about Africa?
Yes.
You know, naona Africa, tunaenda in circles. Vitu zenye zinaweza tusaidia, hatu focus nazo. Because, for instance, unaona huku Kenya, instead of like teaching the generations that are coming how to invest in things like agriculture, kuna mambo hatuwezi fanya, not uhuru yet. Kuna mambo hatuwezi sisi wenyewe hatuitikishwi kufanya.
Tumeaccept.
But vitu zenye tunaweza kama the creative industries, kama agriculture, or just these things that we can be able to teach our younger generations from a young age. Tukianza kufunza watoto about different plants, about different ways of agriculture, tunaweza enda mbali sana. Tukianza kufunza watoto about creativity, kutengeneza nguo yenye ni ya Kiafrika, fashion that is African, yenye ati tunaenda runways, una showcase, you know, your African fashion, just even making movies. in our own African languages, our own African stories. Si tutakuwa mbali. But look at what we are doing. We are raising our children to be like pink people. Hatutaki kuwafunza our languages. Hatutaki, like, we make them become what they are seeing on TV. And it's already there, chenye wanaona. So what can they bring into that television that is unique? Tukiendelea tu kwenda in circles, kuwafunza our languages. Children learn mother tongue kupitia mama yao. You learned your mother tongue via your mother. We were talking about that, Cindy.
Yes.
Even the intonation, everything, unafunzangwa by your mom.
Yes.
Because that's why it's called mother tongue. Imagine sasa, we can be able kutengeneza songs, we create movies, we create dances. Unakuta tumeenda mbali. But sasa sisi tunataka mtoto akuwe na language tu moja. How many languages do you know?
Kiembo, Kijaluo, Kikuyu, the same na Kiembo, English. I think 4.
4.
Yes.
Even me, I know sign language,
Kiswahili is a
Dogo. Kiswahili is a language and a very important language for Africa. But we
sign language inajua tu.
Unajua basics. Unajua tu.
Oh, hii. Now the second one. Oh, this one and the second one. Yes.
Gani the second one?
This one and the one that follows.
Oh my God. I get it now.
It's sign language?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are natural signs, like if you say bye.
Yeah. I know. Okay.
Yes. So, like, we are, you see, now our age, we know like 4 languages.
Yes.
4 languages. You have a kid who knows 4 languages. That's a very powerful person. Ni venye tu sisi huwa tunajishusha chini na languages zetu. But kuna pink men who don't know, who only know 1 language.
Yes.
I think we need now to create a generation that is proud of itself as African and that can be able to monetize its gifts, its African gifts. Umeona? Ndo mtu hata akienda aseme mimi ni Mwafrika, anaulizwa asiseme hiyo asiulizwe, basi kawe ni Mwafrika, mbona unaongea language yangu? Na uko na accent. Nasikia wewe hiyo language si yako, uko na accent. Do you know they're able to tell whether you have an accent?
Yes.
I've been called by people in the United States telling me kids here wanna lose identity. They are not being when they come from Africa. Wanna lose identity. Hawaitikiwi na the black Americans. Na hawaitikiwi na wazungu. So wanashindwa, okay, mimi ni nani? Unakuta wanaanza ku rebel. But ukijijua, ujujue, haya, mimi naitwa Ondiek. Usi utaenda huko na mtanitambua hivyo, hata uko na fashion sense yako. You know, utaitikiwa na hizi magroups. Kwanza hao black Americans watakuona kama ni wewe leader from the motherland. We need to
stand up for something.
Thank you. We need like to instill that. Juu sasa, yes, tusipo instill hiyo, watoto wetu watakuwa kama wazungu na wataongea kizungu. But wacha nikwambie, si watapata pesa aje wakiwa huku Afrika. See, we need to build our own Africa. We need to create money for ourselves. We need to be creative. We need to have creativity, ni kukua na your own thing. Hiyo kitu African yako kama watu wa Nigeria. Nilikwambia nilikuwa nataka kukua Mzulu. Juu sikuwa najua niko na culture yangu.
Ulikuwa unataka kuwa Mzulu? Mbona Mzulu?
Juu nilikuwa naona wako na culture. Kuna mtu aliniambia Mkikuyu alikuwa anataka kukua Msomali. I was like, why? Juu wao wako na culture yao. Wako na language yao. Sasa mimi, I used to think to myself, si tu ningekuwa Mzulu. Juu naona wako na their own language. Wako na tu vitu.
Na si hivyo ndio watoto wanataka kukua pink men, as you call them.
But do they know they have a culture? Have you provided them their culture? Waikatae, ndo waseme nataka kukua hivi.
Okay.
You get?
Yes,
like, have you first given them? Juu sasa, no, ndio niache kutaka kukua Mzulu, nililana, haya, kumbe I have my own culture. Haya. Kumbe I can grow my culture. Kumbe now I can have my own way of dressing in a modernized way.
Yes. Kuna mahali umenirudisha kwa thought process tena. Money and honor, right? I'd like, before we let you go, I'd like to get into your mind, Ama, if you can share with us what you understand by wealth, because now umenirudisha in a spin. We have the Kimathi family, which may not be as wealthy as some of the people who, let's say, betrayed the Mau Mau, right? They may have all the money, but we have days to celebrate people like Kimathi as heroes now. They don't have the money, but they have the status. But this comes later. Later when they are gone, kabisa, gone, okay, not forgotten, right? They are remembered for the acts that they did. What is wealth, Basi, from your perspective? Like, what's the separation between having money and a status versus living in people's hearts? What's the difference?
Unajua ukiishi in people's heart hauna hiyo money, si ndio?
That's the other thing.
Hauna hiyo pesa.
Hata ukikuwa mgenerous, utapeana, itaisha, utasota.
Yeah.
But
I do believe that I do believe it's important to have something for yourself. Hata kama sio mingi. I think when you say wealth, tunataka like pesa mingi. But I think in this world, sio lazima tena ukue na pesa mingi. You can have kitu kidogo, but uko sawa. Uko sawa. Umeishi comfortable na uko sawa. Yet I know that people are ambitious and they want to get wealthy and everything. But ujue, pia kutokuwa na hiyo pesa mingi, si ati you are sad ama unaweza pata kidogo na uko sawa. Ati?
Kuna wealth, sasa ukisema hivyo unaenda kwa, there is wealth by capitalism standards. So what is wealth by African standards?
Thank you. Na ujue wealth by capitalism standards, ujue you can't be ethical.
Sasa tena hiyo tena ni story.
You can't be ethical ukiwa like in this capitalistic system.
You can't be ethical.
If you are by capitalistic standards, how? How did Britain get its wealth? How was America built? Through slavery.
Mimi najua ya Spaniards, they used to come, wanatafuta king, wanamchoma watu wengine wakiona, alafu sasa they own the place, they take all the gold na silver zenye wako nazo, and then they take that to themselves, taking land by force and stuff. And I think that's how they created their wealth. The descendants were.
No, that's capitalism. It is when kuna moja ana gain kuliko hawa wengine.
You cannot be ethical.
Kama even the billionaires today, you can't. I actually learned that many of the people today who are wealthy, like in the capitalistic way, they are not wealthy in ethical ways.
Hakuna outliers, lazima ucheze chafu.
The wealthy ones. Lazima. You explain to me, okay, this is in terms of this, okay. Explain to me how much are workers paid, unalipa workers wako aje, ndo upate hiyo wealth, ufike pale juu. Unawalipa vizuri. Okay, sasa labda kunao mwenye huwa wanaangalia hiyo mambo, si ndio? Labda kuna wao. But ukiangalia hizi companies kubwa, tuache kuzitaja.
You can't pay people well
utawalipa,
and make money.
Utawaweka vizuri venye mtu like anafaa kuwekwa.
Because nilikuandikia kitu about the kipande system. And I think that inachokoza hiyo kitu kidogo juu. The kipande system ilikuwa you have to have a kipande for you to get work. Hiyo time. So hii kipande pia mkikosana na mzungu mwenye amekuandika job, they would tear it. So inamaanisha you cannot get work elsewhere.
Utakuwa slave hapo.
Yeah, because for you to get work elsewhere, lazima mtu mwenye alikuwa amekuandika job aandike ulikuwa unalipwa pesa ngapi na aendorse wewe kwenda kutafuta hiyo job. So walikuwa nasema this actually puts the African in a place where you cannot negotiate for better pay in the next
job. But imagine now the resilience that we have because we overcame that. Even it used to happen to the African Americans. Like for you ufike system haikuwa inakuitikisha kufika pale juu.
So
ukiona African Americans who have made it, ujue those guys wamepitia a lot.
Na kwa hii capitalistic system wanakapitia a lot to become that level of say billionaires.
Ati wanafanya nini?
Ati wanakapitia. Unaona vile through the hardships ati African Americans wanafanya hard wana nini na yao ni mbaya because kuna hata devaluation, like if you live in a house your real estate racism, you live in a house, if you are black, valued less just because of your color. But
even
the same,
your
same
name,
house
hata CV hata si kwa CV ni lazima uandike nini race.
Exactly. But sasa in that same context, we don't have people who can work so hard in the capitalistic system to become billionaires ethically.
No, that's always been my question. Like I always used to ask myself, okay, not all, but why are many super wealthy people mean? Like mbona wakuangi wazuri? And then I started to realize ni juu wamepitia mambo mingi kabla kufika hapo juu. Umeona? So like in climbing up the ladder, you learn how to unajuanga the loopholes zenye zitakufanya zitakufanya ufike pale juu. So
you get there through exploitation. So your mind, by the time unafika hapo, you're already conditioned.
Yeah, that's how you should
be an oppressor.
Yeah. Is there actually, you asked a very important question, is there anybody who's ever made money bila, like pesa mingi, you know, like kufika pale juu bila kuhahama watu? Even because even when you look at how, okay, and I'm talking about like when this country was started,
yes,
none of the leaders, the good leaders walikuwa wanauliwa. That's why nani na huyu anaitwa nani JM Karaoke, he was saying we are creating a country with 1 millionaire but wengine ni a million beggars. Yes. He was trying to change that, but na umekuwa kwa hii subject sana. The people who got into power si walikuwa the people who got into power si walikuwa capitalistic, wakajiekea mashamba wakanini, so they also got there through kuhahamana.
Yeah.
No, is there
and
old
the people
money
who try to speak against that
wakauliwa? Kuna old money in this country that has been gotten through good ways, like through nini.
I need to go do more research on
even
that.
Me, I need to do research. Juu tunaweza sema hakuna ukute kunao. Umeona? And okay, and also these business people who do business, hatuwezi sema ati hawa working hard, hatuwezi sema hawaja work hard, but now my question is, are their workers well paid? Like, are their workers like well taken care of? In terms ya good job environment, inakuanga mtu apate insurance, make sure haukuli. Unajua kuna watu huwa wanakula hadi insurance benefits za wao watu umeemploy, hawata wanakukata but hawata hii nini. So unaangalia kama huyu mtu ako na housing. You see now me I'm speaking about an idyllic world, watu watasema that's ideal, hatutatengeneza pesa.
Yes.
So
what is wealth by African standards? Tumesha defined by capitalistic standards, and I believe both you and I may need to go back to the drawing board.
Yes.
Tutafute kujua, do we have people who make hiyo pesa kabisa? Because one of the people I respect a lot about money, ako hiyo billionaire status, but ananiambia you can make all the money, and he explains that you can make all the money you need by coming up with a concept that can be of great service to humanity, like kwa watu wengi.
Yeye ako na hiyo concept?
Kama yeye alianza na alikuwa na first mover advantage ya garbage collection. Ya alienda akachukua garbage, akatengeneza company. He was the pioneers wa garbage collection. So by the time watu wana build
alikuwa ameshaanza,
akauza the company. So he made money that way. Na pia nowadays watu wanasema when you start a company kidogo and it picks up in the age of digital, it creates value, you can sell it and make money. And we have billionaires when wamekuwa created hivyo, like you start a product nini, you sell it, you go public or probably buy shareholders, you sell your shares, you're a billionaire. I think nitarudi sasa verification.
Also the guy who created like Safaricom, he had an idea and he sold it. It made him money. Si ati alifanyia mtu anything mbaya for him to get that money.
Yes.
Perhaps I'll go and also do that research, because hatuwezi sema, let me go and do research on that.
Tunarudi kwa drawing board. Manzi, you've shared
the wealth
information.
The wealth for African
standards,
yes. So number one, kuna physical wealth, kuna wealth sasa ya family wealth, na kuna kuanga na wealth, yeah, spiritual wealth na sasa health. Health pia ni wealth.
Yes, yes.
So like Africans tunaangalianga land, for instance my culture, we love land. Mi pesa napatanga naipelekanga kwa land. Land is because it legitimizes you. Kwa inakulegitimize.
Yes.
Uko wewe ni wa huko.
Yes.
So land is very important.
Yes.
We had even things like livestock and everything. Umeona? So that is part of wealth. Then you look at kids and your family, like what you're teaching them, that's part of wealth. Juni wako, sini wako, those are your generations.
Yes.
So that's why like you find African men, they had many wives and many children to show that ilikuwa inaonekana wewe ukiwa na wives wengi na watoto wengi inaonekana unaweza kuangalia. Na utawa usi ati mmoja ako better kuliko huyo mwingine, unawaangalia wote. And then the other thing was health. Health is part of wealth. Ukiwa mzima, you are a wealthy person. Ni uende ufanye kazi ndio upate cha kukula. Yes. So now it's those three, and also spiritual wealth. Kujuana na Mungu wako, you be in a very good relationship with God, that was part of wealth.
And I think I'll agree with you that health is actually overlooked as a universal wealth, because there are certain health issues you can have all the money in the world.
Hawezi pona. I learned that the Kikuyus usually say you better have good health na usipate nini sira. Sira is called kukua kotini, like hizo mambo za makoti. They drain you.
Makesi,
yes, hizo kesi. So you better have good health na usikue na makesi. Because hizo vitu ni vitu mbili zinaweza kudrain sana. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I don't know how to say this, and I believe I speak for everyone who follows this conversation from beginning to the end, that you're pure good vibes.
Thank you. Do you think I talked too much Kikuyu? You know, like, do you think I talked too much Kikuyu in it?
Where?
Was I being, I don't know. Yeah, because there are some words I cannot explain.
But anything you said in Kikuyu, you explained in English.
Okay,
na tukatafuta na wewe zenye tuko tunapata.
I hope so.
Pure good vibes.
Okay.
I personally have enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
And true to that, coming here, niliambia mtu, we are going to have a conversation today. Mtu wangu aliniuliza, who's your guest today? Nikamwambia, if we can execute good vibes, vile naiona kwa akili, this is probably one of the most interesting conversations we've had on this platform.
Guy, for real?
That is true. Nakwambia hivyo tukimaliza.
Kengoni tiga kunichocha.
No, 100%. Yes. Kama kitu nimelearn siku hizi ni kukua straight. Kukua straight such that I struggle to understand mtu hawezi niambia yes or no.
Yeah.
Imagine. I don't know how, for a long time, I've struggled to say no. And I think one of the experts wa kusema kitu inaweza ama iwezi without beating around the bush is Larry Madowo. Larry anasikianga request yako. It's either we are doing it or we are not.
Are you a millennial?
Yeah?
Are you a millennial? Because millennials tunakuanga na hizo mambo ya kusema. I think we should learn to say no. Hata mimi nakuanga na shida ya kusema no. Yeah.
No, mimi siku hizi nimelearn. I'm learning.
How did you learn? Unajua like and then I see nikisema like yes, okay, nisiposema no, alafu I'm trying to look like nice to that person. Huyo mtu at the end of the day bado atadikasirikia juu sikuweza kusema no. How did you learn that?
Mimi nimekuwa worse than wewe. I've struggled with that a lot, but then I realized that it hurts me more not to say no at the right time. And I've also, when I started inculcating that into my system, I also realized that I appreciate someone being very straightforward with me, ananiambia no, bila kunipatia process ya kuzunguka, trying to guess whether you mean it. Or, yes.
Also, may I appreciate when somebody tells me no.
Or yes.
Sasa nimejiprepare or yes, yeah, like ndo nikae nikijua. So I need to practice that. And also the person who can't say no. Si hivyo ni kukua coward.
Ni kukua coward, and I think it also comes from nimestudy Larry sana, and I've also, there's a book I read ya Michelle Arong. It's about Rwanda. Ile kwanza ukishika, it's like a movie. Inaitwa Do Not Disturb. It's about how allegedly the Rwandan regime took out their former intelligence chief in a hotel huko. So she details that story. But before she details that story, ikianza, she talks about how Rwandans are liars. Yani, they are liars, they lie. So she goes anaingia ndani, but when she describes the Rwandans, I'm like, you're talking about Kenyans.
Yeah.
Unaona ile kitu ya, if you called me, alafu nikwambie, wacha tutaangalia hiyo maneno. You always know, huyu ananiambia nanitoka. Mtu akikwambia wacha niende hivi ni come. You already know that's a lie. But there are people who are so straightforward. Akikwambia wacha niende hivi ni come, they will come back.
Yeah.
So I'm in a process where I want my word to mean something. I want to be nikikwambia
tukue honorable.
Yes. Nikikwambia we'll do it. We will do it.
Nakuanga na rafiki. Anaweza kwambia nimeenda choo nakuja. Anaenda nyumbani anakuacha. And I get so angry with that.
And I've done that to people too.
No.
My friend, and I was worried for myself. First of all, my younger brother ndio alifanya ni notice kwanza. Akaniambia, wewe unasemanga unakuja the whole day. And then besti yangu akasema, I was leaving his studio. Then nikamwambia, nakam. Akaniambia, wewe najua hivyo ndio umeenda. And I did not
do you forget or do you do it on purpose? Why you doing it on purpose?
Sometimes we take for granted vitu kama hizo, unataka kujitoa kwa situation, so you just say something for the sake.
Okay.
So I'm in a stage where I don't want to say things for the sake.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to be in a place where nikikwambia, at this, I actually mean that. Whatever you do with that information is up
to you.
Yes.
Mimi, unaona hii channel yangu, imenifunza kutokuwa, actually, the personality that I have on social media is, people usually tell me when they meet me, they see a very different person. Because when I'm in social media, it helped me to stand up for what I am saying and what I have found out. For instance, unaweza kuta utatusiwa. Ukitusiwa, si ati like, I used to think, ama nitoe video. But I already said it. I did my research. I found this kieleweke. Tukitusiwa tunasema tu hapana, we basi nionyeshe penye hii nasema. Kutusiwa ni kila siku. So it helped me. Kutusiwa is not like si kila siku, but you know, unaikuta tu kwa life kila time.
Mtu akikutusi, I learned that mimi siwezi kasirika because I understand the person. Mimi nilikuwa nakasirika haraka kitambo.
How have you reached there?
Because usikasirike because in the mind state ya this person, this is the best way they know how to express themselves. I always thank the person who introduced me to reading culture. Anaitwa Gore Semelango. Tumemleta kwa show. When you start ukianza kuangalia hizi books, you start to see like when someone anafanya kitu, it's a projection of something else for the most part.
Or even fear.
Yes. So when you interpret it like that, badala ya kukasirika for the surface, you understand where this is coming from. You understand? And sasa you learn to filter. You engage with feedback. You engage with feedback that is progressive. Mtu akikutukana, it does not do anything to hadaji express. Like, let's say I was doing a video. You've not given me, you've told me how you feel about the video. You've not talked about what's wrong with the video so that I can improve. So nakuelewa.
Haujanisaidia.
It's not personal.
So like, oh God, na venye kimi ukasirika alafu na kutusi back. And you know that's not good. Like I should be better than that. Umeona?
Hata wewe mtu anakutusi. On a one-on-one. They're actually very good people.
I know.
They're actually very good people.
Nasemanga. Let me tell you, there's this time. Tulitusiana na mtu, alafu tukakuwa marafiki, nikamwambia tuache kutusiana sasa. Kaniambia hata mimi wewe umechoka. Nikamwambia twende live.
Tuendelea na live.
Na tunaendelea. I think it is true. Like deep, it's true. I agree. And I've learned that from you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Teacher.
I think penye tu hapa, like I think penye tu nimeona like nimewezwa kidogo ni hapo pa in terms of wealth. Umeona like capitalism. Hiyo kitu saa like now I'll go thinking about it because I'll be like, is there like a way to become very very rich by being ukiwa ethical? Juu unajua hata mimi siwezi kataa kukua na pesa. Nani anakataa pesa?
Hiyo nakujibu very simple.
Well, so you knew the answer.
To most people it takes time na process to understand. Wealth is a mindset. Na acha tufunge na example kidogo. Kuna jamaa anaitwa Morgan Housel. Ameandika book ya people walikuwa wameinvitiwa kwa party. Na kwa hii party, this guy was the author of a book inaitwa Catch 22. Ilikuwa imesomwa, like unaona ile bestseller. So alafu wakiwa kwa hii cocktail party, kwa hiyo boat, like the yacht, inaitwanga yacht. A guy tells him, that unajua mwenye hii boat, ile do anatengeneza in 1 hour, I may miss the figures, ile do anatengeneza in 1 hour, ni more than hiyo book yako imetengeneza in 2 years. This is figurative, naweza kuwa nimekosea the dates and nini. But alikuwa anamuonesha vile, wewe hauna pesa. Mse wa kitabu akamwambia, sasa the good thing, mse hatawahi kuwa na something that I have. Niko na kitu yeye hatawahi kuwa nayo. Kwa nini hiyo? Akasema enough. So when it comes to wealth, once you decide what your enough is. Let's say unasema nataka kuishi lifestyle ya mimi nikipata an average of 200,000 per month.
Hiyo ni enough.
Naweza raise watoi wangu, naweza fanya nini? Then you start working. Useme, what do I need to do to earn 200,000 per month consistently? Right? How much time do I need to create kama passive income to give me that? Let's say you need 50 million, uweke kwa government bonds at 14%, uko unapata around, I think when I calculated with my friend Dr. Ken, ilikuwa inakama around 700,000 per month. So unakaa unasema, how many years would I need to work to raise 50 million? It's a good life. So you work towards that. Need 10, 15 years.
So it's knowing enough for you.
Enough for you. Then when you get there, let it be enough for you.
Juu inaweza fika useme unataka more.
Exactly. So that will be a life of abundance as per your standards. As per the next person's standards, you will never win.
It's different.
You'll never win.
Ingalikuwa wewe, ungechagua kukua Mau Mau ama Ngati? Now like if you haven't seen the future.
Mau Mau ama Ngati? I would have chosen inner peace. Inner peace in the sense that nakuanga na shida ya huruma mob sana. I don't think I can do something to betray someone and live with it. Yes.
Like even
na pia sidhani ningekuwa Mau Mau. I believe in first of all, huyu mtu mwenye anataka nikuwe Mau Mau. Ni nini tumekoseana? Can we talk without betraying others? Can we talk in my context?
So you'd be like the Haridhuku.
Maybe.
Yeah. You'd probably, because you're smart, you'd be like the Haridhuku. Me, I like war. Mi ingekuwa huko kwa forest.
You like violence.
Wacha tupigane.
You don't like peace.
If you hurt me,
yes,
tunapata peace aje.
Kaende sana.
Unless now ukuje tuongee. Juu now, actually I used to say my mother tells me sio kila kitu ni lazima mfight. Mukikuja muongee sikizaneni. But kama ni kitu naweza kukuta ukinifanyia mimi nitakukuta.
But uzuri tushaona you have a very powerful spirit of forgiveness.
Oh, I do.
And people will learn a lot from that.
I do. Huwezi kaa ukishikilia mambo, ni wewe utajihat. Wacha Mungu adil na watu wake. Sini alitengeneza wabaya. In Kikuyu we say mwene nyaga. He's the actually in Kikuyu we don't even have a he or a she. It is the owner of color, like the color black and color white, manyaga. So ni the owner of good and bad. Ni zote alitengeneza. Even the bad spirits that we say, zote ziko chini yake.
Tunaweza piga story na wewe.
We can keep talking. I know.
Thank you.
Thank you so. How long does the interview take? Usually take?
Tushapita 2 hours. We usually talk for 1 hour 30 minutes. Na bado trust me. Nikisema kitu kingine tutaendelea kuongea.
Tutaendelea. Wacha niende home. Nilale. Nikikuja hapa nilikula ugali na chai. Sikuwa na time ya kukula lunch.
Ugali na chai.
Yeah, because time was running. So like, sasa wana tumeanza story. Acha nimalize na hii. So for lunch, we had ugali and skuma. But nikakuta dere ameshafika. So nikaona tu nikunywe kachai haraka na kaugali.
We'll study your diet plan.
Yeah.
The last time nilisikia ugali na chai, ilikuwa under unavoidable circumstances.
Guy, watu wakulangi ugali na chai. And then I like it. Kwanza ukiweka kasukari. That's the only time I put sugar in tea because like I'm like sasa on a verge nataka nilikuwa nimeona nimenona sana. So sasa nataka kulose sana nianze kunini. Acha kuniangalia hivyo nianze kulose kidogo so sikunywi chai na nini na sukari. But that's the only time now I take nini the sugar ikiwa na ugali.
I really hope tunaweza kukupata tena because tumejaribu compress hundreds of years of history in one conversation and it's so much fun talking to you and I believe the vibe ina extend mpaka kwa audience yetu so I hope we can set this up again.
Next time tuongee kuhusu akina Kale sasa kimaliza story. Tuongee akina Kale how we are all related.
Seriously?
Yes, wenye tuko related. Wajaluo, Wakale, Wabaluya, Mijikenda, si sote how we are. Because we are all brothers and sisters.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Manzi, asante sana for sticking with us up to this point. I hope you enjoyed our content. I hope I fulfilled our promise. I trust that this was time well wasted. Please feel free to join our family by hitting subscribe and turning on the notification bell. We have so much good vibes already uploaded on the channel. We have so much more coming through. You don't want to miss out. I also hope that you loved our location, the shots Nini. That's just a highlight of Wojo. Wojo is a premium co-working space in Nairobi City. If you ever have office needs, ofisi imekuwa furnished kila mali. I'm talking premium conference facilities, office space, a space that can bring out the best of you as far as creativity is concerned, productivity. You need to get in touch with Wojo. They'll give you flexible contracts, a very prime location, flexible working arrangements, affordable rates in a premium location. I've been your host, Dr. Kingori. See you on the next one.